What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Outbreak podcast. I'm your host, Ray Harkins. Thank you for watching and consuming this thing because it's incredibly meaningful to us that we're able to bring guests on that played the festival, who are involved with it, and spread not only the awareness of the festival, but why this whole thing is important to us. As a reminder, the 2025 dates are closing in and tickets are indeed moving fast/low. Manchester approaching sellout, so you better make your plans. And also, as a reminder, the dates are June 13th through the 15th. The 13th being in London, that's a Friday at Victoria Park, and then the 14th and the 15th are in Manchester at the BEC Arena, like it has been the past couple of years, and it's going to be incredible. The newest addition is Glassjaw. They're playing all the dates. In London, they're just doing kind of a regular fest set, as it were, but then on Saturday and Sunday in Manchester, they are doing album plays. So they play Worship and Tribute on Saturday, and on Sunday they play Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence, which both records, they're great. So whether you go both days or whether you go one day, you will have an incredible time. And also, there's tons of other bands. Obviously, it's a festival, you get it, but you know that these bands are going to be absolutely incredible, like Sunday Real Estate, Knocked Loose, Turnstile is playing in London. That's going to be, dare I say legendary, epic, biblical, all of those things. Drug Church, Knocked Loose, and so much more. Trust me in saying you're going to want to be there because you will walk away from the weekend being like, every dollar spent, every pound spent is a investment in my life, in these artists' lives, and I got some core memories that I'm walking away with. So please attend this year. Today, we have Fleming from Modern Color, who is on the show, and he's the lead vocalist and guitarist of the band that has put out a ton of stuff on Other People Records. They've been beasting in the underground, as the kids say, for the past 10 years, and now are finally getting some of their flowers in regards to cooler looks for larger tours, and they played in front of quite a large crowd at the 2024 edition, and I was really stoked to see that. We talk about growing up in California, getting influenced by the Redondo Beach music scene in bands like Joyce Manor, but then also being heavily influenced by bands like Weezer, and then also Title Fight, and it's a great conversation. So that's what we got for Fleming. New episodes come out every 2 weeks, so please subscribe and follow, as you will not miss episodes then as they come into your orbit and you get reminded about that. And you can also leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or leave a rating on the Spotify page, or if you're doing this on YouTube, drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the particular episodes, the guests, whatever the case may be. Huge shout out for our presenting sponsor this year, and that is Squarespace. If you use the promo code Outbreak, that gets you 10% off your first website or domain. You can also reach out to us at podcast@outbreak-fest.co.uk, and we'll take feedback or ideas for what we get into this year in 2025. So let's talk to Fleming from Modern Color now.
Hey, what's up? My name is Fleming. I sing and play guitar in Modern Color.
It would be funny if you were like, all right, I play drums in Modern Color. You're like, I don't even know what I do in the band.
I'm a part of Modern Color somehow. I don't know how I got here, but...
You're like, I actually joined and started the band at some point. I don't even know what I do here.
I don't know. It's that I've been smoking weed in California too long, you know what I mean? But...
Well, it's funny too. I mean, as far as the vocalist side of things is concerned, usually that ends up being like the person that has the least musical talent, especially in like punk or hardcore.
Right.
Oh, you're cool to hang out with. How about you just yell into a microphone? Like, you can't play guitar that well, whatever. So you just do this.
Fuck it. Go yell, right?
Totally.
Well, that was the thing. Like, we were looking for a vocalist for so long, and just out of necessity, Vince, our drummer, and I were like, well, I guess we'll just do it. And over time, it kind of panned out.
Right.
I don't know.
I guess by default, I'll do it. We'll see how it sounds.
Exactly.
And it's fun. I'm sure at the very beginning, too, you obviously had no idea how to, like, sing. Or maybe you had some semblance of it.
It was just screaming to a pitch. And it was like, we're just going to get through this. But I think after, you hear your setback so many times on like an Instagram story, it's like, oh man, like I'm kind of determined to become a singer. So that's been like, I played guitar since I was like 10 years old. So like taking on vocals as like a real instrument has been honestly amazing. It's been like really fun to do.
Right.
So it's been like relearning an entirely new craft, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, especially, I know that's like a very artist thing to say, to be like, my vocals are an instrument, but like, it's true. It's
fucking hard, man. It's not easy to be a singer. Like, I look up to every pop star that's able to go out there for like an hour and a half, day after day. Like, it's not easy. So.
Right. And it's like that idea of, especially as you evolve within the context of not having any idea what to do because you're screaming on a pitch, to be like, oh, I can actually like hit a note and then carry a note. Like, all those things are added layers of complication.
Right. Well, and I think ultimately it leads towards like, how can I express myself and like the feeling that I'm trying to convey, like to its most honest level, you know what I mean? And
Right.
like a certain vocal take can just sound like it really comes from your soul or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's so much nuance to it. It's really terrifying and also, I don't know, it's a fun challenge.
Yeah. I would be remiss if I did not ask you about your mustache, because it's, not only is it spectacular, but that is highly curated, and you've been doing this for a longer period of time.
I think I was like 18 or 19 and it started to come in full, and I was like, well, okay, let me just see this through. And it's been, I don't know what, 12 years since then, and I'm just kind of afraid to let it go now. I don't really know what I look like underneath it.
You look like a child.
I'm so good on all that.
Well, and especially like it's this juxtaposition where it's like you obviously have a little gray streak going on, and so it's like there's this. People probably mistake you for being older than you really are, and like in a not offensive way, but they're just like, oh, but yeah, you're like in mid-30s, and you're like, oh, like, no, I'm not.
Just turned 30, but well, and that's the weird thing. A lot of people ask me, they're like, "Oh, so how do you dye that?" And I'm like, "It's not up to me, man."
I was blessed with this, bro.
I'm just happy it came in like a kind of cool looking way. I was like, "All right, I'll take that."
Right. And then you're like, I'm gonna back this up with the mustache, so that way you get a lot of things going on.
And I started to see grays going here too. It's interesting.
That's it is. And then you're like, my voice sounds different. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So it sounds bizarre.
Exactly.
With watercolor specifically, the idea, like, you guys, to your point, like, you've obviously been at it for a long time. And whereas there's so many bands that have this, meteoric rise, where it's just like they put out their first record and it's like, oh my gosh, everything happens for them. But you guys have been obviously that like slow build where you're just like, we're local bands, maybe we'll do some regional dates, like we just have building, in my opinion, like logically, like with most bands. So is it one of those things like now that you're getting these like opportunities to be like, I guess we're playing a festival in the United Kingdom? Like how is it hitting you now that you have perspective over the work that you've done?
It's really, I don't know, it's like coming full circle because of eating shit for so long, touring to nobody, at DIY for fucking ever. I'm glad we got a lot of the, bumps and hardship out of the way, kind of getting, seasoned with this. But now it's just fun, now it's like, okay, I'm not nervous to play this set. I'm not nervous for anything else. It's just like I get to go and do this thing that I've practiced hundreds and hundreds of times, Yeah. So I don't know. I'm thankful,
Of course.
I don't know. The fact that I'm still here, being able to do it, even after like going through so much, it's amazing. What about
and that idea too. Like I think that there's many opportunities for bands or members of the band to be like, this doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, and not even going anywhere where it's like, oh, we haven't broke. Like, we haven't made mainstream success. Right. It's like not everybody can like stay that cohesive unit. And you guys, I know you've had member changes. Seem like you've, or maybe
I was gonna say with our band, like I've been playing music with Vince, our drummer, since we were 14, 15. Okay. He's like been the only guy I want to play, music with. Like you get to that psychological point where it's like, I know what you're going to do 2 bars from now, and you know how I'm going to do this transition thing. And same with Chris and Chad, like our other members, like we've all been so close since teenagers. And I think to a certain degree, at least personally, I've always been a little delusionally confident about it. Cause I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to play music, and I don't care if it's to 10 people. I don't care if it's at Outbreak to, thousands of people. Like, this is what I've got no other choice. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm just going to keep doing it. So
my life is centered around this.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Sacrifice so many other things to put this at the forefront. And I mean, it's, it sucks for a lot of those milestones that normal people like to achieve. But at the same time, it's like, I just need to keep going.
Yeah. You're listening to the whatever voice in your head, the feeling in your gut, whatever.
Exactly.
That's most of the artistic pursuit in general.
Right.
To be like, it doesn't make sense. But you're like, but I have to do this regardless of whatever is happening on the quote unquote side. I still have to do this.
Right. It's a weird, selfish, but non-self. It's such a strange thing.
Yeah.
Because then you start to have people that, really like your band. They care about your band. You become important to those people. So it's like, fuck, now I got to keep touring because I want to keep reaching out to those people. It just, the cycle. And like I said, it's a little selfish, but I love it.
Yeah.
I can't stop it.
This whole podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. So pardon the interruption, but if you need a digital footprint on the internet besides like an Instagram page, that is where Squarespace comes into play. They are an incredible website hosting platform that also makes it very easy for you to design. Because let it be known, I personally am not a designer, and I know many of you don't know a lick of code, and that's totally fine. That's where Squarespace can help you launch your digital profile. If you're in a band, if you are running a record label, all of these things are incredibly important for you to have a footprint beyond just like a random, web store link. Like, that's not going to cut it these days. And what makes Squarespace even cooler is the fact that they have design intelligence. So say you're dragging and dropping stuff and you're making the website that you think looks amazing. They're going to suggest like, hey, you should think about this. You should maybe move this over here. That is an incredible feature. And you don't even have to take their suggestions. You can just be like, thanks, moving right along. And also they accept Squarespace payments. And that means they use vendors like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit here in the United States, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay in the United Kingdom. So that way people have more options to buy your stuff. So please go to squarespace.com/outbreak and you get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Again, go to squarespace.com/outbreak for 10% off your first website or domain. Get a digital footprint and use Squarespace.
On that tip, the idea that, clearly you've been building your life around music, whatever that may mean, obviously playing with Modern Color and everybody as the unit, as you have been, you've obviously been, working, doing side hustles, gigs that would allow you to be able to pursue the band, pursue the music and stuff like that. What's been your favorite or least favorite that you like have participated in that's like been able to give you that thing to...
I worked valet parking for years.
Really?
And it was really easy because I'd be like, all right, I'm out. And they'd be like, all right, let's see you in a month, I guess. And they would just let me come back. The pandemic obviously kind of ruined that because don't want to hop in people's cars. I was working at a hospital as well, which is kind of funny. It was like valet parking at a hospital was great, usually enough. But during the pandemic, I got like a random tech job where I could like work from home and do some customer service for like a 3D printing company, essentially. And it's such a small team there. They're like, oh, you're in a band? Like, that's sick. So when it started to come back, they're like, goodbye, have fun on tour. So I'm still doing that, and it's great.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, like, you dip in, like, where you still try to work as you're on the road?
And when we're in the States, I'll just bring a hotspot and I'll just keep working. So I'm so lucky to have that situation. But, man, I don't take it for granted. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. I'm sure the people that you work with, like, they probably have no concept of punk or hardcore. And they probably think that you are, like, do they have this, like, big picture of, like, oh my gosh, touring.
I make them come out to some shows. I'm always like, yo, I will put you on guests. You've got to come see this. Because they're great. They're fun people. Totally different world, but like they enjoy it. They think it's fun.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're just like, here's our coworker, and then here's this weirdo guy that gets on stage. Like, these are two separate people.
Well, and I'm like, I want you to understand why I have to go tour. So please, like, come see it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it worked out pretty well.
That's so cute that it's just like, I say cute because it's like this inclusive thing where it's just like, you have no context for this world. I'm bringing you in, and you can see why it's important to me. And even if you're playing in front of, 30 people on program, it's still like, wow, like people care about your band. It's like, well,
I don't want to live these double lives, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just live as honestly as I can through every way that I possibly can.
Right. Growing up in like San Diego, Southern California scene, California is very unique in the fact you can play really random pieces. When I bring that up of like, what's the most random place, whether it's like maybe they've literally played in a boxing ring. Like, so what, when I bring that up, what sticks out to you is being like, these are some of the most random shows or places that we've played.
Oh, man. Okay, not California specific, but we ended up playing like a barn in, I want to say, Iowa, and it was in the middle of cornfields, in the middle of nowhere, but we were on tour with our friends in Frail Body, if you're familiar.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like the tour ended at this big like 2-day house party in this massive barn, tons of kids, and the family was out like grilling food for everybody. It was like really wholesome. And another one that just came to mind is we played in Albuquerque. No. Area 51 area. Where's that? Why can't I think of
Vegas, Arizona. I mean, like, I know it's all in the
Roswell.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah, the aliens. That's what I was just thinking. I was like, aliens.
Totally.
So we played in Roswell, and again, we were with I don't know what band we were with, but it was like very DIY touring at that point. And we pull up, we find out we're playing Little Girls Quinceañera, and it was like this little like community arts center. There's like 4 actual people that like knew our music, and it was just a bunch of little kids running around. Their family again is out grilling hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. And that was one of those like, damn, we were hanging out in Roswell. It's like 110 degrees outside. Everyone's miserable, and like, here we go. Happy 16th.
let's play this gig.
Yes, it was quite a time.
I mean, I love those for multiple reasons, but the fact that it's like when you show up to those really unconventional places, even if it is 4 people that are there, they're obviously never going to forget it. Like, you're never going to forget it.
Oh, of course not.
And it's like, this is something that is so unique to just being like, all right, well, we're on tour, whatever that may mean, like, sure, we'll play this gig in a coffee shop, like, that's fine, like, that's normal, and then I guess we'll play a quinceañera party too, that's fine.
I mean, and you gotta keep in mind too, like, a lot of kids nowadays that are into this music are younger and younger, which is amazing, but a lot of them can't, like, commute to, like, a huge city and get all the way out there, so it is really nice to hit those, smaller pockets and, play in a town where some kids, like, I never in a million years thought you would show up here. You know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah, absolutely. And especially kids, you can have that, like, literal one-to-one connection where it's like, oh, I know Bobby and Sally from Roswell.
Exactly. And they'll be our friends forever, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll DM you a year later. Remember when you guys played? Yeah, 100%. The idea, too, of, like, recording, putting together, like, you guys have been, very tight with Corey Kaufman for many, I mean, he's done all your records, right?
For the most part, yeah.
And so when you develop this relationship with a person that's outside of the band that can, like, call you on your terrible ideas, like, not saying that Corey's not a mean guy, to be completely honest, but
the meanest man I've ever met.
Just a real taskmaster. But, like, when you find that person that can call you on your stuff, like, is that, I know it's valuable to you, but, like, was that difficult to initially take that in, or were you pretty open?
He himself is so nice and welcoming to any kind of like creative idea. It was really easy to kind of take that on because again, like we're all big Gleamer fans, you know what I mean? And like I already kind of went into it knowing like, okay, well, this guy knows how to do some songwriting. no surprise. So I really trusted him from the get-go. And again, it's just been easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, his most harsh feedback, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, whatever." Like,
yeah, his hard thing is like, well, maybe let's try this instead. You know what I mean? But it's always like very, very nicely steering the ship.
Right. And then once you hear that idea on tape, you're just like, well, on tape. Once you hear it digitally, then you're like, oh, like, yeah, you're right.
He was really big on us to be like, all right, we're going to repeat the chorus. And, again, we're all from like punk and hardcore. We're like, but it's 2 minutes. Do we have to? And, again, turned us into better songwriters. So I really appreciate him for all that.
Yeah, all the structure.
Oh, yeah.
This is a random question, but
sure.
I think a fun one, where if I were to wake up tomorrow and give you whatever, $1 billion, whatever, and you were to open up a retail store, whether it's, you can sell goods, you can sell services, whatever the case may be.
Jesus.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot. But yeah, if we were to do that, what would you open up? What would you sell? What would you do?
Probably cliche answer, but I mean, I would love to open up a venue.
That's not a cliche.
I would just to have a place to facilitate live music and be able to fund it, like $1 million. Shit, I'll try to have as many bands come in and.
Okay, so to put a finer point on what size venue? What are we doing here? Like, are we, what are you envisioning as your, like?
I would want to do something that was kind of, I guess, like 250 to 300 cap, but something where like you didn't have to be some elite band or some elite, group of people to come play it, you know what I mean? And like we grew up selling pre-sale in all of our metalcore bands. So, of
course, your Chain Reaction, your Breakthrough Entertainment.
Oh, dude, Jesus Christ!
Not like I've heard of that and played shows like that.
Oh God! Yeah. Just to save kids, all the dumb shit that I had to go through, and we had to go through, and countless others, and getting robbed to play music. Like to do that would be incredible. I think that would be like the end goal for me.
Yeah, it is not a cliche answer because I think it showcases like obviously who you are as a person, but the idea of like what Modern Colors always tried to embody. Because I mean, you guys are obviously a unconventional, but like you can play with punk and hardcore bands, you can play with any,
right?
And like you don't fit in anywhere, but you fit in everywhere, if that makes sense. And so it's like,
that,
of course. And so I think that's like the idea of you just being like, I want to open up the doors to a venue and then like let any band play that would make sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Again, I think my favorite aspect of doing any of this is the live show. So like letting other people express themselves like that, it would be a dream.
Right, yeah. Well, there we go. Now, we'll see if we can get the funding together. I don't have $1 billion, but, I'm sorry.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
Right.
You know where my Instagram is. I'll find you.
That's perfect. Yeah, this is essentially your pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad I brought this out of you. The last thing I want to hit on was the fact, like, you've experienced a lot of touring of different levels, DIY up to, like venues and package tours and stuff like that. And then you've obviously started to dip your toes into international touring. What is the distinct difference that I wouldn't say confuses you, but you're just like, wow, it's weird that other countries do this and America doesn't do this, or vice versa, where you're like, this is weird. Why is this not happening? And this is not to create an international incident. I mean, you can attack North Korea if you want to, that's fine, but
we'll keep everything very cordial. I don't know. There's a lot of similarities, I think, and a lot of it comes down to like when you're at the show. I mean, like the show is the show. There's a lot of put it this way. I think like food culture is really interesting between everywhere. The way that venues like to take care of you out here, and especially in like mainland Europe, and like cook for you, and like, like the government is sponsoring venues and like giving them money because you're having culture come in is like really cool.
Yeah, you're like, what doesn't happen in America? Any of this.
And it's insane, you know what I mean? Like, wow, and it's thriving. Who would have thought? So
totally.
I don't know. There's a lot of differences, and I think the big culture shock is just, ultimately like we're on a different side of the road, and like the food is a little different and whatnot. But to be fair, I mean, like once you get to the show, like everyone's the same. Everyone's there to express themselves and have a good time. So I don't really know. It's all kind of a blur at this moment too. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
It's all the same.
Well, and especially when you're talking about like the commonality of music bringing people together at a shared space.
Right.
Like anytime you're doing that and touring, no matter where you're at, there's going to be differences, but it's all going to be different shades of the same thing because you're all there for the reason of like music.
Exactly.
Everything around it is where it gets obviously.
I will say, and if you've played in Germany, you might have experienced this as well, but
German compliment?
This stark honesty of German fans is amazing. And again, this is no hate.
No.
I love it. But someone coming up to you being like, that was okay. And just like walking away is like, oh, fuck. Let me go reevaluate my existence real quick. I love it.
Like nothing is, especially when they go in on like your personal like looks, where it's just like, oh, you've gotten fatter.
And it's like, you were better last time. This time was fine. I wish you had a shirt in black. I'm not going to buy any of this. Turn around, walk away. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, that was insane.
You're like, if anybody did this in any other country, it would just be like, you are an absolute jerk.
Oh, you do that in America, someone's going to fight you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no room for that. It's so funny.
And then especially when you experience that for the first time as an American, and you like, your jaw literally is just like, oh, maybe I wasn't that good this time. Like, what?
And it's funny because I remember like very distinctly like hearing that. And we were over here with Tradewinds in 2019. It was our first European tour, which was amazing. But I remember being like dumbfounded, going to Tom and being like, yo, what was that? And they're like, oh, that's just how it is. I was like, oh, all right, cool.
You're like, I better put my armor on for any compliments I get here.
Brush it off. Let's take it not as seriously. Fuck it.
Well, I genuinely appreciate you hanging out. Thank you for doing
Absolutely.
this.
Thank you so much
for the
for talking
official
to me.
late night handshake.
Thank you, guys.